Going live, going live, going live.
What up, everybody?
Everybody, about to start in just a minute. Let's go ahead and start the countdown. Hey,
Did
everybody.
that did that have a little like church bounce to it? I heard. I feel like I heard a little shouting beat about in that little countdown. Shoot, let's go. Let's go.
Yes. Hello,
Uh,
everybody. Welcome to the Way Love Goes
welcome, welcome,
podcast. I am your
welcome.
girl, Tierra Monique, and I have my lovely, I guess I shouldn't say lovely because that means your girl. So
Yeah,
my
my version of lovely.
creatively intelligent co-host with the most
Dondeez, yes,
from the West
sir.
Coast.
From the
Um,
West Coast, East to West Coast. Y'all don't know that was a early name I threw up in there. East to East West Coast Love Show.
Hi,
Yeah.
Carol.
Carol,
Yes,
what's good? What good, baby?
thank you for coming along on this early Friday.
Mm,
Um, I have an event, to go
big
to.
boss moves.
Yes, so y'all switch sides. I did, because I am hosting today. I guess not hosting, a
Yeah.
co-host, but I
Look
am
at
the.
Carol in that picture. Looking smooth.
Oh,
Looking smooth. You got an event too. What's good?
you got it. She trying to get snatched.
You,
That's
you know what I'm saying? That dude with the beard and the cologne and the wood, what is it? Wood
yeah,
musk cologne with the
yeah,
plaid
yeah.
shirt on and boots. Mm-hmm.
At the over 50 club.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. I don't know how old
Dude,
you are, Carol. I'm talking
side
about the
side
men. The men
side
who wear
note,
really strong cologne usually are like over 50.
side note, anybody if you ever jump on Carol's her Instagram, it's hilarious. She has the funniest
Ah,
posts. Yeah. So just when you're feeling down, go to Carol.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, she's laughing.
Yeah.
So today we have a great topic to talk about today.
Oh yes.
Love and mental health.
Mental health.
I'm talking about that today. It's been going around. I mean, we all know that we've been talking about mental health for a long time, especially the past 2 years because
Hmm.
of the pandemic. But it's some celebrities have come out, in particular, David Mann, Tamela Mann's husband. He also plays Mr. Brown on all the Tyler Perry shows and movies. He came out and talked about how he was dealing with depression. And so we want to talk about love and mental health. How do you deal, I guess to say, with if your significant other
Yeah.
has mental health issues, or how do you deal with your own mental health issues? And it's not always something that's prescribed by a doctor or diagnosed by a doctor. It could just be something that's situational going on in your life that causes any kind of mental anguish, any kind of depression. So we want to get into all that. But first, let me go ahead and do our check-ins. How are you today, sir? What's going on with
Doing
you?
good. We just got in. The benefit I found that you can find a blessing in anything, which
Exactly.
is usually when I have a shorter amount of time to do things, I still want
Mhm.
to get them done. So the way that I do them is more intense, and it's like good. It's like
Right.
more powerful. So like my
Okay.
workout today, I just jumped into it, and it's shorter than usual, but it was more intense, so it still worked the
Okay.
same way. So that's something, guys. If you got less time to do something, just do a more intense version of the thing. You dig?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So if you Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
If you
ahead.
got it, I was just gonna say, if you and your wife only got 20 minutes before the kids come home, 5 minutes of fire, and then get to back to life. All right, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
Full steam ahead. Uh, yeah. Me. Let's see. I just came from the eye doctor, so
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have my glasses on today. I'm not
I'm
gonna be
seeing them
putting them on today.
glasses today, right?
I got my contacts in now, but they dilated my eyes, so if you see me
Oh,
blink,
or you got the blurry eye?
if you
Yeah,
see me blinking a lot, it's because of that. It's not because I'm having some kind of seizure or something. I'm not, I'm not
yeah.
having a seizure. I'm just blinking quite a bit today. But
Hmm.
yeah, so other than that, it's been a so week. I wouldn't say a bad week. It's been a good week because I'm alive and well. I'm here today.
Yeah.
My grandmother's she hurt her arm. We don't know how she hurt her arm. So now it's like one arm that was already not she wasn't using. Now her
Mm,
other arm has limited mobility, and it's just causing her not to be able to do things. And so it made me really sad. Um,
mm,
I didn't cry in front of her. I just wanted me to support her. But like when I got home yesterday and I was talking to someone about it, it did make
mm,
me cry because I was like, I can tell that she is in pain. Her spirits can be up, her spirits can be down. She's also dealing with dementia. She's also dealing, with aging, as a 79-year-old woman.
mm,
And then now to have this extra thing as far as like not being able to use both arms in the way she wants to. So if y'all can just be in prayer for my mom, my grandmother, and my mom. My mom takes care of her and our
mm.
family, so we can just have the wisdom and tools and knowledge on how to take care of her in the right way.
Yes,
Other
for
than that,
sure.
I'm ready for the weekend to start. So
Get it
um,
popping. Let's get it
have a good
popping.
time. It's nice, cool Virginia fall weather today. So
Mm.
the
Y'all
fall
got the
weather is
leaves and everything
the
falling
leaves are
down.
turning. Yes, the leaves are
Mm-hmm.
turning, which is it's beautiful when the leaves are turning. Do
Yeah.
y'all see the leaves turning out in California at all?
Some spots, like when you go up to the mountains, you can see it more.
Uh huh.
All our leaves are ugly though. They're just palm trees, so they just look
Just
like a
palm
bunch of
trees,
dead. They just look like a bunch of tops of dried pineapples, and you're just
right?
like, oh, okay.
They're all
What are you
brown. They're just
just?
brown.
Yeah, it's just brown, and they're just like, what did you expect?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's over.
So we
Yeah,
just
we
have
have
to console ourselves at the beach or something.
to. Well, hey, look,
Hmm.
we don't have that option. I mean, people still go to the beach, but they're in
It's
jackets and
probably freezing,
sweatshirts.
huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cold.
Like, oh, this is nice.
It's
This is
cold out here.
nice.
I mean,
Oh
and
yeah.
you will see some people out there in their shorts and flip flops. I mean, like on a day
Hmm.
like today, it started off really cold and now like warmed up to like
Hmm.
68 or something like that. So you'll still see
Warmed
that
up to 68. Wow,
warmed
guys.
up.
Okay.
Yeah, we started off at 40
Is
something
that
this
the
morning.
Wahites doing that, or is that
I
everybody?
I think it could be anybody because I know
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
I'm good for wearing a flip flop sometime in the winter if my feet are hot
Oh,
because I
okay.
just
Okay.
yeah, but we just never know. We
Okay.
just
Got you.
yeah, but
Got you.
okay. So
Get
today
into it.
today podcast is all about your mental. I love you, but how's your mental?
How is it?
We get into relationships, and sometimes um, there are things that sometimes it's like two things. We get into relationships, and there's nothing wrong, and then
Mhm.
life happens, and then that's when something starts to show itself. Like what is the thing that said is something showed its
Mm.
head. So things start to come out that were probably deep all the way down,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah.
they're
It
like rising up.
rears its ugly head.
There it
Mm-hmm.
is. Rears his ugly head. Thank you very much. Rears
Mm-hmm.
his ugly
Mm-hmm.
head. So yeah. So that. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. We forgot. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and
Please.
share.
Hey. Yo, keep going. Keep saying it. I'm saying this in the background.
Don't
We
forget
are
to like and
increasing,
subscribe. Yeah, and
dude.
share.
That Instagram. There's some people
Yes.
logging on. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Keep it
Yes.
going.
Keep
That's
going
right.
to our Instagram page and following us. I have been following through our Instagram page. I've been following a lot of marriage and relationship pages, and they've been
Hmm.
following us back. So that's great. We all here to try to help each other and help the
That's right.
world. have great and healthy relationships. So it's really good when you just see people, following you back.
Yeah.
Because they
And keep the
understand.
conversations going from
Right,
here to
right.
there,
Right, because everybody doesn't
Yeah.
have the same perspective, and just because you see it one way does not mean that your way is absolute. So it's not
Right.
the 100% truth. So I think it's good to like and follow other people who are in the same genre that you're in, so you can get more information yourself. So yeah, that's good. So don't forget to
Yeah.
like, share, subscribe to the Way Love Goes podcast. On Instagram, it's the Way Love Goes pod. And our YouTube channel is the Way Love Goes podcast. And you can tell a mother, tell a sister, tell a brother, tell a friend, tell your enemies, tell your neighbors, and tell everybody. The people at your job who don't even like you, just tell them.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to learn how the way love goes.
Yeah,
You need to learn.
exactly. I got something to help you out. Check
Right,
it
let me
out.
try to help you out. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So back to the program. Love and mental health. Are you
Mm.
currently, I'm about to sound like a commercial, are you currently experiencing mental health issues? Are you in
Mm.
a relationship with your spouse, your significant other is not doing so well and they won't want to go to a therapist? Well, we're here to help you out today. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
All right. So there's a difference between mental health disruptions versus mental health illness. So a mental health disruption is what can affect our mental health. So it could be moving in with someone, living with other people, marriage, separation, divorce, remarrying, relationship transitions are increasingly common in our society. But what effect do these transitions have on the health of those involved? Researchers have found that people who are married tend to have better health, while people who are separated or divorced tend to have poor health. What do you think about that, Dee? Do you think that is true?
Mm.
That people who are married tend to have better health, while people who are separated or divorced tend to have poor health?
I mean, I guess I'd lean on the research in terms of like the broad spectrum, but
Mm-hmm.
it really depends, man, because if that person is the source of your stress and you get freed
Yeah.
from that, it could be better. But probably overall, I would say because you have two people that are kind of like encouraging each other, they may
Right.
be at different levels. So probably more, I would say probably more of the time it is better. We're not made to be alone. So the less um, permanent our lonely time or alone time, then that probably does contribute to your
Right.
your
Exactly.
health. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I agree too, because I think you're there to, when you're with someone, you're there to help each other and better each other. So
yeah.
if I see my bae, my boo, my hubby in the future, if he's like doing things that I know that could be detrimental to his health, then I can point them out in a loving way and say, hey babe, I see you gain a couple pounds, or I see you eating a lot, you're eating bad a lot while you're at work, because I'm gonna make sure I have a home cooked
Mm,
meal. Okay. He's not gonna be eating bad here per se, but
mm-hmm,
when you go
mm-hmm.
out, you're always doing this, you're always you're drinking a little bit extra, or you're not exercising like you used to. So I think we're
Mm,
there to help each other, because we can see things that the other person doesn't see. So I can see how that we tend to have better health. I think overall too,
yeah,
when you feel wanted and loved, it makes you feel
yeah,
better. It makes
that's
you
true. That's true.
approach life in a different way. I know when
Mm-hmm.
I am if I am dating or in a relationship with someone and I feel loved and wanted and respected and appreciated, I mean, you wake up differently. You go about your life differently. You talk to your family, your kids differently. Like, hey, everything is okay. What, you broke the plate? It's all right. I don't care about that. Hey, my
We
baby
not
loves
do.
me.
Yeah.
What? You hit my car? It's okay. My baby loves me. It puts you in a different kind of like high. You just have a different perspective. So, but when things come to an end, you
Yeah.
separate, divorce. It's like you're like, oh, I went through that. Like, oh, that was a failure. Like, oh man, like now I got to go back out here in the dating world, or now I have to heal myself, or now I have to go through this again, trying to figure out another person. Because I mean, let me tell
Mm-hmm.
you something. Quiet is kept out here in these streets, these dating streets. It is very exhausting to have to retell your story over and over again. Oh,
Oh,
we
true.
are living.
Yeah, to
Oh,
everybody. That's
I'm
right.
with do you have? Oh, what's your favorite food? What do you like to eat? Oh, how come you've been single for so long? I mean, it's like, oh my God, you just want to
Dang,
have like, you want to have cards. You
that's
want to
some
just look
nosy
on
people.
well, I mean, people ask
Yeah.
me that. I ask them back too, because I mean, because I haven't
Mm-hmm.
been in a real relationship in 7 years, so that people can
Mm-hmm.
go,
Mm-hmm.
oh, why are you been so long? But you just tell them. You just kind of sometimes you get tired of telling your story, and
Yeah.
you just want to go ahead and just shoot them on like a pre typed
Just be
up
like, look, before we go on this date, read this
right.
email.
Read this, please. Read
All
this.
right.
Please read my bio.
I'll do follow up questions when
Right.
we,
Here's my
over
bio.
dinner. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand how those things, how relationships can alter our mental health. Now that
Yeah.
those examples are like you're fine, and then you get in a relationship, and then some things happen within the relationship, and it causes stress or a little bit of depression or anxiety or whatever. That's that
Mm-hmm.
mental health. Then there's actual mental health that is diagnosed by a clinician, like bipolar disorder or manic depressive. I hate to say this, but some people are schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
Have people who have extreme anxiety disorders, which is a lot nowadays. You see more people are having a lot of anxiety that they never knew they had before because of all the things that's going on in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in their life. So something can like just trigger it, and they never knew they had it. And then especially if you are dating or in a relationship or married to someone who's in the military, that's a lot of PTSD.
Ooh.
Someone who works in the hospital or in the ER, that's a lot of stress that can happen, that can cause a lot of anxiety, and someone who has to take actual medication for it in order for you to function. That's what I mean when I say mental health illness is you have to take medication in order for you to function at your normal level, not everybody else's normal level, but at your normal level where it doesn't cause any kind of rift between you and your significant other. So that's a difference. Mental health disruptions are things that happen outside that we can't really control. Then mental health illness is like things that's going on inside of our brain and our body chemically that we have to take medication for. So let's get into this. So the
I
questions that you
I
may
learned one
go
of
ahead,
those. Sorry,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add one to that list was it. I just learned it, and it has to do with
Okay.
relationships. Called chronic dependent personality disorder. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, like somebody who's
Ooh.
codependent.
Like, yeah, they can't they're almost like paralyzed. Like they have to be in a relationship, or they can't
Yeah.
make they really can't kind of take, they're like, it's like they have an anxiety about taking care of themselves. Like they need
Oh,
the
wow.
yeah, it's interesting, but maybe we'll get into it later. But I just wanted to add that to the list
No,
because that
that's
was
really
something I
good.
learned into.
Yeah, that's really good to bring up because there's a word going around right now, codependency. People are
Mm,
codependent. There's also a topic going around about your attachment styles. Like there's different attachment styles. Are you clingy, or like how do you attach to people when you're in a relationship with them? Are you more
mm-hmm.
codependent on them, or are you more independent? So that's good though, because I think that if you were like that, to me, what you're just describing, and I know you said we're going to go into it later, it sounds like someone who could possibly have been who had separation anxiety with their parents as
Mm,
children, or they were abandoned by their parents, they were in a foster care system, they were in orphanages, or whatever it was that causes
mm-hmm.
them to react that way or have to function in life that way, where they have to be with someone because they don't know, they can't, there's in their mind there's no way that I can be alone. That's
Yeah,
something that's something really good. I really want to talk about that later, but yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so if you are a person who currently is struggling with mental illness, okay, and you're in a relationship with someone, here are some things that I found out, like especially in the beginning stages. Like, when do you tell? It's like, when do you tell your partner, I have a mental illness? Or slash, not only do I have a mental illness, well, not that, so either you do have a mental illness, or that you are struggling right now with depression that's not been clinically diagnosed, but you find yourself going through these cycles of depression. I call that situational depression. I think I actually saw it before.
Mm.
It's called
Is
situational and
that
emotional.
seasonal? Oh, situational.
Situational,
Okay.
yeah, situational. So situational depression is like, I lost my job. Um,
Yeah.
Someone broke up with
Okay.
me. I got in a car accident. Um, my paycheck didn't come. Like, it's like there's certain circumstances that cause you to go into this sadness that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can't pull yourself out of. Whereas depression, like, if you go into a depression that's you're clinically depressed, there's a chemical imbalance going on inside of your body that you have to go and see a doctor, and like, you have to be on medication in order for you to function in a day. So yeah, so
Right.
if those two categories, like, you're mentally ill, you've been diagnosed with something, or you're going through something, you have some anxiety, you have some depression that's not diagnosed, the question you want that you're probably thinking is, now that you met this boo thing and you love this person, or, you know, when should I tell my partner that I have a mental illness? Like, when should I tell them that I have this? And so, according to this article that we read called "How Mental Illness May Affect Relationships" by Diversus Health, their answer was, it says, should I tell my partner? Should I tell my partner I have a mental illness? And their answer was, when you're ready. That's what they said. They said, you tell
Mm.
me when you're ready. And so I was like, what? Tell them when you're ready. Now, I can understand that, because the article was trying to imply that you should wait as long as you can until you're ready, but then that's like, well, then how long are you waiting? Because
Yeah.
if I have a problem and I know that you're probably noticing something about me, and I don't tell you, and you're probably thinking that, I don't like you, or I'm being distant, or something, whatever it is, and it's actually, I have a mental illness, then there's a miscommunication there, because something is not being said.
Listen,
So go ahead.
I had a situation once.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't. So what? I'll just let me. Okay. So here's what happened. I was there was a girl that I was dating,
Uh-huh.
and we had stopped dating, but we were still friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe she was like feeling particularly uh horny that day or something.
Uh-oh.
And we were talking,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, yeah, I can give you a ride home if you want. And I was like, oh no, that's okay. It's just very close, I can walk.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, keep coming on. She kind of was like very persistent about it,
Mm-hmm.
and the more she was like that, the more to me, I was like, no. Now I'm like, absolutely not. But what happened is the last time, but I try to be calm the whole time, not like forceful or anything. So I was just she kept
Right.
insisting. And the last time I just said to her, I was like, no, that's okay. It's fine. I'm good. I'm gonna walk home. And she actually like screamed at me. She was like, "Let me take you home!" Like, she literally screamed at me. And then I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
huh.
Right.
I don't know what is going on here, but
Right.
like, if we were in a relationship and she hadn't shared anything with me, I'm feeling
Right.
like I would have to pursue and be like, I mean, I wasn't wise enough to think that could have been one of the possibilities then. And she
Right.
probably, and maybe she's not. I mean, every time I, interacted with her after that, there was no signs that was what was going on. But, if you do have people that, like you say, their behavior is crazy, is literally like kind of crazy. I
Mm-hmm.
know that's like a taboo word, but like,
Right.
that's the feeling that you feel, right? And you say, is something going on? Like, I feel like if it's the point where you, the partner,
Mm-hmm.
are asking because
Right.
you're sensing,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit too long, and they probably should have shared by that time, because it wasn't
Right.
something they could contain or control. I don't know. I just my initial feelings on that.
Exactly.
Just the
Yeah.
disclosure. aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I know after reading that portion of the article, I came to the conclusion that, well, and I think it also stated that too, that it says, yes, it says, should I tell my partner I have a mental illness? Yes, if you want to take the relationship to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you find yourself, and if you feel, even if you're not really, I think even if you're not ready to go all the way, I think your conversation should tell you if this person will be able to handle it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and you can always tell let me tell you something. The more and more you talk to people, the more and more you let them talk, they are going to show who they are and what kind of character they are. If they're always calling people certain names that are mean and derogatory and demeaning and making people feel bad, then you know that they don't have the maturity space to handle what you want to tell them. It says that some people are very hesitant in telling their partner they have mental illness because of the stigma that comes with it. Like you just said, like calling, oh, you're crazy. Like if you hear somebody say they're bipolar, oh, she crazy. That doesn't mean that she's crazy. It just means that she deals with things differently. There are certain things that go on in her mind, that the way she approaches certain things that go on in life can cause a very extreme stressor, whereas like you can handle it differently, but she cannot. And so she's not crazy. No. There's a way that she learns how to live and move and operate in life that's different than you. And then she has to be on medication that will help her chemical imbalance. So so there is a stigma that's with it. And it also said there was an internal stigma, because you can be telling yourself, they're not going to like me. They're not going to accept me. They're not going to love me if I tell them this,
that internal negative self-talk.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And it keeps people from wanting to be transparent. So the article also states that for those who may not experience the same mental health struggles as you, education and understanding are critical. For the partner, it can be helpful for them to understand the steps you're taking to treat your mental health conditions, such as therapy and or medication. This can help to normalize it and get insight and awareness of the mental health illness. So it's very important for you to have the conversation so they can get an understanding. Oh, okay, you aren't. Because let me tell you something. When it comes to women, they automatically think, oh, you're PMSing. A guy told me the other day, you must be PMSing. No, I'm not PMSing.
He said that?
Yes. He said that. You must be PMSing, because I was challenging his thought. He was presenting his thought about a topic, and I was like, I disagree. I don't know about that. And he was like, how could you? And I was like, no. So when I was telling him, and I was very direct with it, he was like, oh, you must be PMSing. What?
Wow.
I'm not PMSing. When it comes to women, it's always that. So it's not.
He must be PMSing.
Right. You're not
That's
crazy.
Crazy. Come on, bro.
So yeah, there is an actual illness going on, or / you could be dealing with anxiety that you have not really acknowledged. And talking to someone that you are hanging out with all the time, or who you see yourself in a relationship with, or your partner, because there are some people who are married and they get married to someone one way, and then something happens while they're married that causes them to have high anxiety, to become depressed. And it is very important for you to tell your spouse, hey, I don't know what's going on with me. Because I said to my friend, I was like, girl, I'm crying every day. It's like I'm crying. I don't even know what's going on. I can't focus. And so I said, I think I need to go see a therapist. And she was like, yeah, you probably do. You need to go find out what's going on with that. And so the same way that you tell your spouse that, hopefully they will be receptive to say, okay, yeah, let's see how we can help you with this. And maybe you need to go seek a therapist. And you can also pray together. Nothing wrong with praying, but you also need to go see someone who is licensed and trained to deal with what's going on in your life. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I was looking at a video too.
Okay.
And it echoed that the therapist in there echoes, the same sentiment about, this. A lot of times we'll have the negative self-talk for ourselves if we were going to disclose this thing. But what we could do is tell ourselves, maybe this will actually be an advantage. Maybe this will actually help in the relationship because now,
Right.
if you like you're saying, if your partner's aware, they can say, okay, well, what is it? Okay, is it bipolar? Is it anxiety? Whatever it is, now I can also learn what are some of the triggers, what are some of the behaviors that you may not see, but I can, as your partner, now be aware of it and say, okay, hey, XYZ is happening. Can I help you this way?
Right.
Or if it's more serious, and you're like, okay, did just accountability? Did you take your pill today, or did you take your meds today? But only when people know what's going on can they be of a better support when the time comes for those kind of things.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Carol, I want what you said, if your partner knows and loves you, they should know when something is wrong and want to support you. I want to tell you that we think that is it's like the thing that you
Ideal.
think, yeah, that's the ideal situation where you think that your partner is going to know, but sometimes they don't know. And that's why it's very important for you to be a very observant of your partner so that you're aware of what's going on. But sometimes they don't know. And we shouldn't, I don't
Hmm.
think that we should go into a relationship or be in a marriage or whatever expecting the other person to always know what's going on with us. Because they are still their own person too. And they still have other things going on outside of the home that they're going through, they have to deal with. So instead of assuming um, or expecting them to know, I think it's always good to say, hey, I'm dealing with this today. And they might say, you know what, I noticed that, but I just forgot to talk to you about it, because that can
Hmm.
happen. That can happen. Oh man, I noticed that, you don't want to go, skating anymore. You don't want to go painting anymore. Especially when your partner um stops doing the things that they like to do, a lot.
Hmm.
It just shut down in a way that you're like, oh, why you don't go out with them no more? What happened? So it's very important for you to
Help
ask those
me
questions.
help you.
Right. It's very important for you to ask those questions as well when you're noticing your partner, your spouse is not doing things like they normally would do. And that just shows you
Yeah.
love them. So yes, that's true. So we would like for them to do that, but
Support
that's
is
not
key.
always.
Support is key. Well, we can help.
Yes,
We can help each other get there. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. All right. So number two, a question that you probably might ask is, will my mental illness affect intimacy with my partner? And the
Mm,
answer is yes. It
it
says
could.
depression symptoms could lead to loss of interest for sex. The medication
Hmm.
that a person is taking who is mentally ill. I hate saying mentally ill. Someone who has a mental illness um,
Hmm.
can lower their libido, which not may not it used to be high, but now that they're on this medication, it's low. It says that do not stop taking your medication to please your partner. Um,
Right.
but discuss your symptoms with your provider. Discuss your concerns. So for whatever reason, you notice that something was wrong. You notice that you're not dealing with life, in a way that you used to, and you go to a therapist and they say, you know what, I think that you're clinically depressed, or I think that you might be bipolar, or you might have, severe anxiety. I need to put you on a medication. They put you on this medication, and now, your sexual drive has changed.
Yeah.
You want to don't stop taking the medication. You want to call your clinician and say, hey, this medicine you put me on, it's working for me in other areas, but it's really not working for me in the bedroom. And I still want to have this physical intimacy with my partner. How
My
can you
partner.
how can you
Yep.
help? Right. And so they can look into putting you on either a lesser dose of that medication or switch you to something else that won't uh, uh, go against your sexual drive, if you will. And also, I would say this: if you're a person who's not clinically diagnosed with a mental illness, but you are struggling with, depression on your own or anxiety, yes, that also it will affect your intimacy because for some reason whatever's going on in your life is causing you to lose interest in those things that you normally would do. So again, I think this whole episode is going to be talking about how it's important for us to have open communication It's just like when you work
Mm-hmm.
somewhere and they go, "We have an open door policy. If you have any problems, always coming to us. Don't keep it to yourself." That's how it should be in your relationships. There should be an open door policy, an open door communication in your relationship that says, "Hey, you're going through something. Tell me. Tell me.
Yeah.
Don't hide it from me. Don't think that I won't be there for you because I'm going to be there for you." And sometimes, though, unfortunately, when things like this happen, it will show you if your partner is really up to the task, I would say, to or mature enough to handle, what's going on with you. Because let me tell you, till death do us part, and sickness and in health. And sickness and in health, this is where sickness and in health is. This is where
Yeah.
that vow kicks in, because you're going to have to help your partner get through this battle that they're going through. And are you able to step up to the plate to help them? So it will affect your intimacy, but there are ways around
Mm-hmm.
it. You talk to each other, you pray, you go to therapy, you journal. If you don't have to take medication, journaling, going through your day, because sometimes when you hold all that stuff in, it can cause your mind to just overload, and then the anxiety kicks up more, the depression kicks up more, because you're holding it all in. So you want to be able
Yeah.
to discuss this stuff. What do you think about that?
So, well, I wanted to say one thing about the meds too. I
Uh-huh.
seen this video. It was a couple. This girl, she's a YouTuber. She's doing a video series on relationships. She did one episode with her boyfriend who is bipolar,
Oh, okay.
and what she was stressing was two things. One thing, she was like, if you are on medication, do not stop. You might
Right.
think that you can handle it, but you that you're given the medication for a reason. Anytime you're trying to do any medical change, med change or adjustment or anything, like you were saying, Tier,
Mhm.
talk to the person giving you the dosage and figure all that stuff out, but do not stop taking it, because that is part of what is helping you to manage the situation. So she seemed like she was from her experience. She had a partner, the guy, and I don't know if they ever had times where he maybe stopped to try to be more engaged or whatever, but they both, the guy and his girlfriend, they both were like, no, do not stop. So I want to make sure that we continue to promote that,
Right.
that thing. In terms of, yeah, the intimacy, I think again, communication is key. Like
Yeah.
if your partner doesn't know that you even have these feelings, like if they keep kind of making their normal intimate advances towards you and you're not
Right.
receiving them, you got to let them know what's going on, because if not, that's gonna then build a new tension that's probably going to be more
Exactly.
stress that would build up an even thicker, greater wall. So yeah, I agree, man. Just be
Right.
open and honest. That open door, yeah,
Right.
that's key. That's key. Yeah.
Exactly. And especially with men, you're a man. Um, men
Hmm.
will sometimes have a harder time with opening up right away. We as
Hmm.
women, ladies, we are more prone to, we're created to be emotional. We're created to, say how we feel when things are going on. Whereas our men will retract. That when I was watching the was it Tamron Hall show that David
Hmm.
Mann was on, he was saying that he didn't want to tell anybody. He didn't want anybody to worry about him. He was focused on trying to take care of everybody else, and he was trying to
Hmm.
make sure that that their tour was going well, and that his wife was good, and the kids were good. And so he didn't want to say anything. He understood his feelings. He acknowledged them to himself, but it was like, okay, if I say this, or if I do this, and what's going to happen, but I think you have to take a step back and say, okay, but if I don't say anything, then what's
Hmm.
going to happen? Especially if you are the provider in the home, and your wife stays at home to take care of the kids, and sometimes you can have a mental burnout. It had nothing to do with, being have a mental illness. You can have a burnout from work, from all the things that, that life happens. I remember somebody had posted during the pandemic. It was like, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a sister, I'm a brother. I go to work, I come home, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. And then I got to deal with this stuff on the news. It's like we are so many things at one time. And sometimes you have to remember that, I'm just not your wife, and you're just not my husband. We are multifaceted in who we are and what we have to do in our daily tasks. So just remember that too. So just, if you see that your guy, your person, your husband, your spouse is like, he's irritable all of a sudden, or he's quiet, he's to himself, he doesn't want to go hang out with the guys, just ask the question. If he's not wanting to have sex, it's not always because of a woman. It has something to do with the woman. It just could be that, his libido is down because he's stressing so much. It's just like you go get in a car. The car looks ready. You got the key. You put the key in the ignition. But if there's no gas in the car, you can't drive it. If there's no engine in the car, you can't move the car. So it's like, if that person does not have the capacity to do anything because they're so burnt out, they don't have the energy, you have to find out, okay, what's wrong with the car? What's wrong with my person? You take the car to the auto place to find out why, and that's what you have to do. You have to ask the right questions. Is everything okay? How are you? How are things at work? Is there anything I can do to help you? Because by me focusing on helping you, I'm helping us. It's not you and I, it's us. So your mental health.
Let me piggyback on that too. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying. Finish what you're saying.
I was saying that your mental health affects my mental health because we have to do this together. It's all about partnership. All about partnership. So you can go ahead.
Yeah. And then another thing that I heard, couple different interviews with therapists, and even the couple, the girl and her boyfriend, they were stressing this point that's really important, I think, for us to know, which is, as the partner, you did not cause whatever's going on with that person, and it is not your responsibility to fix them. And sometimes you actually cannot do it. Like, you don't have the training, you don't have the ability to do it. It is something that demands professional attention. And so when that happens, the best support that you can do is helping the person get to the person who can help them professionally. And don't get down on yourself because you can't do it. You're not, I mean, I believe, I don't know if that's a policy, but I think even if you are a therapist, that would be a conflict of interest if you're working with somebody that are engaged with in a certain other, in other ways. So you definitely, the qualifications of the person, the situation, all of those things are integral to the success of that person moving forward. So don't beat up on yourself if you feel like, oh man, I feel like my hands are tied here. It's because there's something else that's needed, something else that is demanded in that situation. And it's not bad. It is better if you actually, lean into that, as opposed to trying to think you have to do it yourself as the partner.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. What other ways will my mental illness affect my relationship? So the symptoms, like if it can cause you to be tired all the time. It can cause someone who has a mental illness will not have the ability to be empathetic. Like, for instance, if something happened to you, or they're like, oh, okay. Like, I'm pretty sure you met people and like you're telling them, you're like pouring out your soul, and they're like, okay. And they don't have no kind of response. You just not just hear what I said? And they're like, Some people have a mental illness that causes them not to have any kind of connection when it comes to emotions of other people. Like they're in tune with their own emotions, but when it comes to being empathetic and sympathetic for other people, it just doesn't work. Especially like in people who have autism. Like I noticed, like when my nephew, he is autistic. He's so bright. He's so bright. He's so smart. But when it comes down to understanding that his brothers are sad, it doesn't click in right away. You have to tell him, you're not supposed to do that. That hurts his feelings. And whereas a child who's not autistic, they will know, they will understand. Okay. They'll still do it because they're children. Children are gonna be children. But they already have in the back of their head what's right and what's wrong. So a person with mental illness, they may not be empathetic. I forgot about autism. There are autism adults who are out here dating. There's a whole Netflix series about autism. They follow these people who want love, but they're on the spectrum somewhere, and with autism, and but they either live on their own, they live with their parents, but you can tell like when they're trying to date, and how like it just always goes flat. It's always like some awkward moments because they're both trying to figure out how
both people are autistic, or just one or the other.
Nope, they go out
with
other people who are autistic. Yeah, so it's not like but you can also tell how they respond to their parents or their friends when they're talking to them. Their friends who don't have autistic, or their parents who don't have autism, who are not autistic, they'll be trying to tell them like, oh, well, you can't say that. And they're like, why not? Like, it's like why can't I do this? Because they don't have the emotional understanding of it right away. Like you have to tell them over and over again. So it will also cause anxiety and isolation, and it can also cause what we talked about earlier, codependency and resentment of the partner. So you can become because you have a mental illness, you become codependent on your partner's happiness. So like if they're happy, you have to be happy in order for me not to have a breakdown. You have to be happy in order for me not to be depressed. You have to be happy in order for me not to be anxious. Like their happiness and their livelihood is codependent on how you operate, and that can cause a problem. And it can also cause resentment because they're trying to figure out how come they can't wake up every day and have this optimistic and joyful and look on life, and you do. And that can cause resentment of the partner. They're like, oh, of course, if that person's always like saying sarcastic stuff, you're happy, and then they just do anything they can to cancel out how happy you are because they're not happy. And you don't have to be clinically diagnosed.
The opposite side. Yeah.
Because a lot of people who do that anyway. Hurt people. If someone is hurting, they don't want you to be happy if they're concerned about their own, happiness. So what do you have to say about that?
So what the first thought that comes to mind is probably more people than are aware of it actually do have some mental block or challenge there,
right?
Because I feel like one thing in general, when I was thinking about this, just kind of like my own kind of reflection on this, I'm like, I feel like probably everybody in the world has some level of mental things to navigate. And because we have kind of like the spectrum of what we call normal, if the majority of our life, 95% of it falls within that spectrum, it just, all of our alerts or sensors just shut off. So when something happens that is, like the guy that tells you must be PMSing, like people that just do that kind of stuff, I'm like, something is going on with your mental, like seriously, because if you can't take the time to process and be like, that comment is probably, if you can't filter it and stop it before it comes out, there's something there. So even if it's like trace amounts or whatever, I feel like we all have those kind of things that we're dealing with, to some degree. But yeah, I think Man, I mean, everything we're saying, it really seems like it boils down to some communication. I mean, that is
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the foundation of all of
Yeah.
these things. Because whether you yourself are dealing with something, or whether you have a partner who's dealing with something, it's like the only way to address these things is to bring more awareness to them. And it's not like to the point where that's like all you're talking about. Like I know some people, these are they're this is a part of their life, and they kind of make like everything about it, and you're like, okay,
Yes.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yes. Right.
we could watch this game and we could enjoy
Right.
this game. We could, talk about this, and it doesn't have to be everything. But I feel like the healthy balance is okay. Let me recognize that this is a moment. We've had
Mm-hmm.
time where we've talked about it before, and when we're in the
Right.
moment, we're not going to shy away from recognizing that's what this moment is about, and we are going to be open, and we are gonna deal with it. So yeah,
Right.
I think the awareness and leaning in is better than trying to circumnavigate the situation. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And then the last question I have that you may want to ask yourself is, how do I know when it's time for individual or couples therapy? So if you're in a
Mm,
relationship right now and you're having some kind of struggles, um, it says it is important to be reminded that all relationships have struggles. So remember this, they're making a very important point that just because you may have a mental illness, just because you may be suffering with some a mental issue, does not mean that it's just because it's you that you're having a relationship struggle and that nobody else has it. So to remind you that all relationships go through struggles, whether
mm-hmm.
they're involved with someone who has a mental issue or not. So you are not an anomaly. Okay, your relationship having a struggle is not an anomaly. However, if your symptoms have elevated or you and your partner need extra help for growth in the relationship, it may be a good idea to reach out to your mental health expert. They said
Mm-hmm.
that many couples who have tried to work things out on their own, they end up having a strain in their relationship, or their relationship just ends because they don't seek help. Because some
Yeah.
people think that I can do this by myself. I don't need no help. I don't need to go talk to anybody. I don't want nobody to know my business. Come on, I hear that all the time when I talk to
Yeah.
guys and I ask questions and they go, well, I don't need to talk to nobody about my business. And it's like, you're not going out and standing on a corner and telling everybody your business. You're going to a professional who by law cannot tell none of your business unless you are a harm to yourself or other people. Um,
Yeah.
and I say physical. So it is very important that if you come to that part and you really want to stay in the relationship and you feel like, I really want to be here for this person, I really want, us to have a long lasting, healthy relationship, then when you get to that point where I feel like I want to leave, then I think that's when that it's time for you to go to individual and couples, because when you go to
Yes.
individual counseling will help you tap into you and find out what's going on with you, and then the couples therapy will help you tap into how you can help each other and how you can better communicate with each other and meet each other's needs, how you can set boundaries with each other in the outside world when it comes to your relationship. So a couples counselor can help um, assist with education and growth to help with the things that are going on in your relationship. So don't try to do it on your own. Yes, it's good. I know. I heard this yesterday when Kev and Angel were talking about this on their podcast, and they were talking about how therapy is essential, but so many people can't afford therapy. Therapy is
Mm,
being put a lot now. You see BetterHelp, Talkspace,
right.
all these different places about Black girls for therapy, Black men for therapy. But there are a lot of insurances that don't cover right away. Like mine, unless you meet your deductible, I have a high deductible insurance. Because it's not met, then I had to pay $100. I had to pay $100 for a 45-minute session. So, well, I think it was almost an hour. But
Mm-hmm.
if that $100 could go to something else, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you'll probably put that therapy session on the back burner. So I think that if you don't have the money to go to a therapist, I would say to find someone who you can trust with your information.
Mm-hmm.
From a faith standpoint, pray to God and ask God to send you somebody or put you in a space where you can meet people who will be able to help you in your area of personal growth and in your area of couples growth. I know life coaches are also an alternative to actually going
Mm-hmm.
to a therapist. They're cheaper, and they tap into more about helping you, navigate that. Some therapists just sit and listen and then let you figure it out in your head while you're talking. And some people actually give you homework to do and say, okay, this is what you need to do, so you can, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. So it all depends on what's best for you, whether it's actual therapy or relationship life coach. Um, Also, I would say, and I'll give this to you. I think I forgot that fast. Your pastor, there's some churches who actually now have counselors on staff at their church.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the pastor. So it's people who actually have gone to counseling, took counseling courses.
They have
They're
training. Yeah.
trained, they're certified, and they can actually help you. I know the church that I went to back home in Florida, they had a counseling center, and if you needed any help, you can go and get counseling there, and they will not tell your business. Okay, it's still integrity behind it all. They're not going to tell your business, and I know that's a big, big, big thing, especially with men. They don't want anybody to know their business, but it's not about telling your business. It's about helping you figure out your life and figure out
Right.
how you can operate and flow in a good way by yourself and together with your partner. Because we don't want people to get so burnt out or stressed or have so much anxiety or recluse and get isolated that it causes a strain on their relationship. Or next thing you know, there's domestic violence.
Oh yeah.
There's abuse, there's verbal and mental abuse because you can't figure out you can't figure out what's going on in your head. So sometimes when we don't seek help, we will then externally put that onto somebody else, either
Yeah.
physically or verbal abuse. So what do you say about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I will. So the first thing I would say is when I realize the struggles of, and limitations of finances. One of the things that you should evaluate is the importance of this area of your life, or your mental health. So while at the present moment you may not financially be able to do something, um, start working towards, okay, how could I do this? Even if it's like, okay, I know I can't go to a therapist right now, but let me find out how much it costs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like $100 a session. All right, let me start
Right.
working on saving that. Or if you do get to a life coach, let them know, hey, one of the things that I want to do is be able to see a therapist, but I have a financial challenge. That's part of what life coaches do, help you in troubleshooting some of
Yes.
those things. So tell them,
Yes.
hey, this is one of the areas that I really want to work on, but it's difficult. And they will like walk you through the process. Okay, well, what are the steps that you can use to get to this? I remember things, not necessarily, this wasn't necessarily dealing with, it wasn't anything dealing with mental health, but it was like this process that my mom shared with me when she had to buy her first car. She was like, listen, I didn't know how much it was even. So I had to first go out and just find out. All right, a car at this level costs this. Okay. Now let me start thinking about how much money do I need? Okay, here's how much money I need. And she would go through the steps to be like, okay, if I save this much, I can get to. So literally, you can take steps to get to that goal, and try to figure out if it's a county program that has the resources, all of those things. So I want to encourage you to, all of us, that if we have a limitation on something, Let's,
Mhm.
not just like look at it there like, oh, here's the wall. I guess there's no way to get over. But let's also try to think, okay, well, how can I do that? If you're the partner of somebody, help them in that way. That's a great way to be supportive and trying to help somebody like troubleshoot through those things. But those are great example. Those are great suggestions. Finding somebody who you can trust, because
Right.
part of it is at least get you to the point where you're like able to process something. When you verbalize something, it's going to give you a chance to process. And if you do that with somebody who is trustworthy, that's good. If you're at a church or faith-based community or whatever the community is, and there's a leader there, hopefully they are good enough to recognize where their limits are and can point you in the direction of the person who could take you to the help that you need if it's more significant, because you do got some pastors out there that feel like they could do it and they aren't actually trained and they really need more. So, don't be afraid to, you may want to start out with a pastor, a spiritual person. That's cool.
Right.
But know that the possibility is there that you might need more than that. And hopefully you'll have a spiritual leader who recognizes their limits and then can be of assistance to get you to the right spot. So yeah,
Exactly.
the I guess the bottom line is just be proactive in trying to address what you are aware of.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And also, I would say, to close this out, that
Hmm.
it's important who you surround yourself with. It's important that you, like, whoever you call friend, or
Hmm.
who you hang out with, because this is the people that you hang out with the most are the people who have the most influence in your life.
Mm.
So you want to be able to trust the people that's around you. You want to be able to know that they have your back, especially when you're in a relationship. Um, when you're married, sometimes people say yes and I do to the vows at the altar, not realizing the weight, how
Mm.
what is that going to entail to death do us part? What is that going to entail in sickness and in health, for better or for worse? What is that going to entail for me to um, treat you as I'm treating myself, for you to love you as I'm loving myself, and to look at our relationship as one, and as a legacy, and as an example for other people, and not just for ourselves. So you have to make sure that's why it's very important that when you're going through these phases, even before you get married, that you really, really, really ask the right questions. And then
Yeah.
also, but again, if you're in a relationship where you feel like that once you tell this person that, okay, I have this mental illness, or I'm struggling with this mental issue, and they're going to laugh at you or not take you seriously or not try to help you, then you can go ahead and get out. If you're
Right.
married, I know that's a harder thing to do, to get out. Then that right there is an indicator that you need to go to therapy, a couples therapy, because why are you shying away? Sometimes people have dealt with mental illness in their families, and they don't have sometimes they don't feel like they have the capacity to deal with it in their own life,
Right.
in a
Hmm.
relationship. So I wouldn't just say, oh, you just don't want to help me. Ask the question, well, why don't you want to help me? If I am your wife, if I'm your husband, why don't you want to help me? What is it? What is it
Yeah.
about what's going on with me that's going to hurt you somewhere? Because I mean, eventually it will. If you're not helping me help myself, then
Oh, it's gonna show
it's
up.
gonna it's gonna bleed into the relationship. So if you're dating in your relationship, you're not married, and this person has no interest in helping you or being there for you, or trying to help you get to where you need to be so you can live a life that's peaceful, basically, in your mind, um, then I would say exit stage left, and know that there is someone out there who is better equipped to be able to help you in your with what you're going through. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I would definitely say that. And also, when you're on social media, follow pages that are there to help your mental growth, like for therapy for Black men, for therapy for girls, for women. There's so many social media outlets out there right now, excuse me, that focus on mental health, wellness, and having a peace of mind. I mean, it all starts here. Everything
Right.
starts here. I believe everything starts here because
Mm-hmm.
a thought that is a thought that's entertained will then flow out of your mouth, out of your heart, and out of your actions. So once it starts up
Right.
here, then so if you can read books, listen to podcasts, follow Instagrams, follow a Facebook page that or Twitter account that's really speaking positivity and help and growth and awareness for a peace of mind and for good mental health, then do that until you can get to the level where you can see a life coach or go to a counselor.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we thank y'all
Okay.
so much for
Okay.
today. I have a quote that I found. Let me get to it here. It says to be with someone that's good for you. I'm sorry, be with someone that's good for your mental health, someone who brings you inner peace, someone who challenges your bad habits,
Mm.
supports your process of change. So yes, this is very important. Be with someone that's good for your mental health. If this person is causing you more anguish than you already you already have on your own, that's not a way to live. That is not no
Right.
way to live. I don't care how good she look. I don't care how good he look. I don't care how much money they got. I don't care how much of a benefit they are to your life in materialistic ways. If they don't bring any kind of help you with inner peace, peace is everything. If you don't have it, you're
Exactly.
you know running around like Tasmanian
You're
devil.
always on edge. Yeah. Yeah.
You're always, I
That's a
mean, and it
terrible existence.
yes, and it bleeds into your entire life. Because if there's no peace at home that's helping you to have peace of mind, then you're not gonna have peace at work. You're not gonna have peace with your friends. You're not gonna have peace anywhere. So you really want to be with someone who's going to be good for your mental health, who will help you with your inner peace, and who will also challenge you when you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Because you don't want a yes person. You want someone
Right.
who's going to challenge you to be better and who's going to support your process of changing and having really good mental health. What you
Yes.
got for us with the scripture today?
All right, I got Second Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4. It says, Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God
Mhm.
of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. A lot of times people the they'll kind of write off spirituality and specifically God.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I try to remind folks is you need a source of strength so that you can help others as well. And
Yes,
that
yes,
is one of the major benefits of staying tapped in, staying connected to God. You get the comfort, you get the compassion that you need so that you are actually filled up, that you are energized enough to be able to go out and do that to others. You get to
right.
see what the healthy version looks like, and then you get to be able to give that out as well. So use it. It's a resource for you so that you can be a good support to your partner as well.
Exactly, exactly. So thank you again, you all, for
Hmm.
joining us today on the Way Love Goes podcast. Don't forget to
Hmm.
like, share, subscribe, and comment. To touch that notification bell so you can get you can get the notifications whenever we go live. Don't
Hmm.
forget to go to our Instagram page at The Way Love Goes Pod. And you
Hmm.
can send us an email at thewaylovegoespod@gmail.com if you have any show suggestions, any topics you want us to talk about. And we would love to know. Okay, so until next time, that is the way.
Stop. Love.
Wait a minute, what
It's just
happened?
so funny, guys. No, it's just so funny. Our man Sean Boyd came
Okay,
off
I think I
right,
missed it.
literally at the end,
Oh,
just to
yeah,
comment
right at
that
the
he
end.
missed the show.
Well, guess
That's
what?
all good,
Guess
bro.
what,
It's gonna
Sean?
be there.
Guess what, Sean? You can watch the replay. How about that? You can watch the
That's the replay.
replay. On the
On the
replay.
replay.
On replay.
Hey.
Watch it. All right. Well,
Yeah.
until next
He
time,
done
you
messed up
guys.
our. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
We will see y'all next Friday back at our normal time at 2:30 Eastern Time, 11:30 Pacific Time, and that
And we
is
might have
the
a guest.
way. Oh yeah, and we may
Love.
have it.
Yeah. No, keep going. I'm paused. My energy's paused.
And that's the way love
Love goes.
goes.
One
Bye,
day
you
we're gonna say
guys.
that so perfect.
Yeah.
One day. But until that
Yeah.
day, yeah, stay tuned. Just keep it. Bye. See you later. Peace.
Bye, you guys.